greatest test of a Christian's faith comes when God seems silent. When God seems silent. This is where I've been for the last couple of years in our country as I've watched it go down the toilet and watched so many things that have been heartbreaking and wondering why God seems so silent. I just preached a message on the subject and shared 3 things that God is doing even when he seems to be silent. The first one's the test of our faith. Test of our faith. When God's silent, he's testing our individual faith. The boys were on the boat with him and waves were crashing in and he's asleep. And they wake him up and say, Lord, don't you care that we're perishing? And he gets up and rebukes the storm and asks them a question. Where's your faith? Oh, you have little faith. It was just a test. I mean, they were never really in any danger. What bothered them was the silence of God, that God wasn't speaking. God wasn't doing anything. So I learned something years ago. I want to share this with you because early in my walk with God, was mentored by a great Bible teacher, Bob Mumford. And he used to say this, the teacher is always silent when the test is given. When God is silent, you're being tested. I thought about my school days. It's like the teacher talks and talks and talks and talks for weeks, and then you come to the test, and she shuts up. The teacher, he shuts up. They don't say anything. Why? Because you're being tested. This is what goes on in the Christian life. Sometimes God's silent, and you say, what's going on? Well, he's been talking, but now he's allowing you to be tested, so he's silent. I often think about Job. Job went through, most scholars say, 9 months to a year of the kind of suffering that few of us will ever have to go through. And God was silent the whole time. God never did tell him why he went through. We can read the Bible and see it was the devil that God permitted to test his faith. But Job didn't know that. He had to persevere. His faith was tested. Second thing God is doing is he's testing the hearts of men. And this is one you can overlook very easily. I remember when America was threatened in the birth canal, so to speak, trying to be born as a nation. And many say the writings of Thomas Paine actually inspired the colonists to their independence. And he famously wrote this in his pamphlet that changed the course, I believe, of the early American history, Common Sense. He said this: these are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. That term describes what's happening. In a crisis, especially a national crisis, we find out who's who. We find out the summer soldiers and the summer patriots. In other words, when everything's going great, it's easy to be a Christian. How many of you know that? I mean, when things are going well. But when there's times of national crisis, you find out who the real Christians are and who the phonies are. And he said, tyranny is like hell. It's not easily conquered. Yet we have consolation that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And I believe that's what we're going to face in this hour. St. John of the Cross said something centuries ago. He said, silence is God's first language. Silence is God's first language. I've done a lot of meditating on that, and I believe I've come to the conclusion that what he's saying is that even when God is silent, he's speaking. If we have the spiritual discernment to understand what he's doing, even when he's silent. God bless you. Hey, Ray McCollum here. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it was a blessing to you. Go ahead and subscribe now. There's a lot more where that came from.